My name is Denise, and my parents, my mother and father. My mother, she came from Marple in Manchester, and my father, he came from a place called Hume. My mother passed away when I was 4 months old, and unfortunately, my father had 6 children to look after and wasn't managing very well. The social services took us away from him and we were split up. I was a baby, 4 months old, so I went to a place called Nazareth House in Liverpool, and my sisters went to St Clair's Convent, North Wales, Pantaseth, North Wales, and my 2 brothers were in a monastery. And we all stayed there for the next 7 years because my father had to go through certain court cases to prove to the society that he could look after us. And things worked out that, social services were very good. They kept an eye on us all and we were managing quite successfully. St Vincent de Paul was very good to us. They came to us at Christmas time. We used to think he was Father Christmas, he used to bring us apples and oranges and food, blankets and clothes. They were just absolutely fabulous. So when I did leave Nazareth House, I joined my sisters in St Clair's Convent. And we kind of grew up together there, went to school together there. Pauline used to keep an eye on us, the eldest sister. They could be quite cruel, more mentally. Well, like we used to get the cane as well. That was in a jar of vinegar at the back of the blackboard, and that when it hit you, it stung you. The vinegar would sting your legs more than anything, and you could never look directly into the eyes of a nun. It was very disobedient to do that. You would always look down when you were speaking or answering a question. And it was hard, but then there was some nice days as well. I can remember Peter Rabbit in the garden, so I used to quite often go out and see him. And I liked the old priest, Father Pacificus. He was always lovely to all the children. And there was a lovely sister called Sister Anne. she was like a barrel, Sister Anne. She was lovely. Well, Dad had to fight for 7 years to get us all home again. It was really difficult for him. He used to travel on the train all that way, once a fortnight. There was one Christmas where they wouldn't let him in, and he had arms full of presents for us. And he went away and he phoned up Canon McHugh, a good friend of his, and Canon McHugh got on the phone to the convent straight away and said, you must let that man in to see his children. But the presents never stayed with us. The presents, because now that I think about it, it wasn't kind of fair really that my dad should come with all the presents and the other children had none. So I can understand now why we didn't get ours, So, but it was very difficult for him. It took him 7 years to get us all home. So then when I got home, I was the baby. So I was one that got spoiled, got given everything. But then as the years went on, I realised that my father was treating me differently to the rest of the family. So I did tell him, I did ask him and said, Dad, I need you to treat me the same. I said, because it's not fair. It upsets Tony when you give me things and you don't give them to him, So, but it never happened. He said there was a bond between us that nobody could ever break. And unfortunately, my brother turned against me and decided that he wasn't going to speak to me anymore, and if he did, it was not very nice language. So to live with somebody in a house for 3 years and them not speak to you is just unbearable. It really upset me. So I told Dad I need to go. So he found me a job in the Isle of Man. He put me on the boat in Liverpool. And off I went. I was like a Granny Smith when I got there. It was my first sail. I didn't think I'd ever get on a boat again. And I had a great time. It was freedom, you know. It was fabulous. I didn't have to rely on Dad for money anymore. I had my own money. I had free board and lodgings. I used to go horse riding and bought my own clothes, and it was just fabulous being free of it all, being able to just walk onto the beach, and I'd take a little bucket and have a look for some crabs, and never did find a big one. From the Isle of Man I went to Cornwall with my sister, and we both got a job in a hotel in a place called Newquay, and that was fabulous. I mean, the boyfriends started coming in then, and I got a bit more ladylike, you know, to impress the boys. And we used to go to the discos and have fun, and it was just great. 2 sisters together, and just had a wonderful time, a lovely season. Well, I had my little flat in Bristol, and a friend of mine, her brother was coming home, who was a captain of a ship. And she said, I've got a house full, Denise, you've got a spare room, can you look after it? And I said, yeah, no problem. And we got on famously, myself and Michael. And just before he left, he said, I'm in deep water, Denise. My cook is not coming back to me. He's not coming back on my ship. He said, would you like the job? Didn't take me long to think about it. I gave him a ring and I said, I'm on my way, you know. So anyway, I joined the ship, and it was fabulous, you know. It was just great, you know. I met them all the sailors and the captain and all the crew. They were all in the pub drinking, and I walked in the door and they went, hooray, the cook's here. And everybody started buying me drinks, and of course I was legless when I got on board the ship. Wasn't fit for work the next day. I said, oh no, I can't get up, no. So the captain let me have a day off. It was great. We had great fun. And we sailed all around the North Sea, the north of Spain. We went to Sweden and Denmark. Norway was absolutely wonderful. It was gorgeous. It was lovely. And it was funny because we met a Dutch ship in Norway, and the captain of that ship, she was a female, and she invited us to her ship for dinner, you know, for the English officers and myself to go for dinner. So off we went. We had a lovely meal, and the captain thought it'd only be polite to invite them to our ship, you see. So I decided that I'd do king prawns in a soy sauce. And they loved them, you know. And then I remembered the finger bowl. I went back into the galley and I got a washing up bowl. I filled it full of water and plonked it in the middle of the table. So that just made everybody laugh. I mean, everybody had a few more drinks and it was forgotten about. So the captain was moving on to a millionaire's yacht, and he asked me to join him. I said, I'd love to. He said, we're going to go and sail around the Mediterranean, Denise. We're going to have a fantastic time. And I would be the stewardess looking after the cabins and serving the meals. So off we go. Get halfway across the Bay of Biscay. And I was asleep in my cabin, and the cabin was just full of smoke. And somebody's shouting, fire, fire. And I woke up to I couldn't see anything. So I run up to the bridge and I said, what's happening? and Kevin's on the deck trying to do something with the stabilizers, and the captain's trying to get him back into the bridge because it was so dangerous. So me, the chef, Kevin, and the captain decided to get stuck into one of this millionaire's best vintage port. You see, we thought we were going to die, so thought might as well go die happy, you know. So all hands on deck, we all had a real good old drink, and it was just a matter of waiting for the storm to stop and for the boat to settle. And we did end up in Gibraltar, finally, where the ship was mended and fixed. And what we're going to do about this missing port, said the captain. I'm going to buy him a nice case of best vintage wine, and we'll all apologise for what we've done. So it's fabulous. I had a great time. I was in North Devon when I met the two. Well, one of them was my boyfriend Angus, and the other one was his friend, and they were both truck drivers. And we decided to go to the Shetland Islands. I worked on the Sullom Voe oil terminal there, but we didn't actually live on. We could have lived on the camp. We decided to live in a cottage, which was about 3 miles away, and it was just absolutely wonderful. It was beautiful. It's so near the Arctic Circle that you got a beautiful view of the Northern Lights in October, and the snow would be 3 foot deep, and we'd trudge home 3 miles in the snow to get to the croft. No running water, no electricity. And just across the way from where we lived in the croft was an island called Unst, where my father was stationary during the war. And the airfield was still there, which was, yeah. So that was a very exciting adventure. And it was there that we decided to save up the money to go to Munich and travel from there to Iran to get driving jobs. I met an Indian and an American in the laundrette, and they was telling me that they had 9 Mercedes cars to take over to Iran, and would I know of any drivers? I said, well, I can't drive myself. I said, but I'm with 2 truck drivers and our destination is Iran. He was all excited. He said, this is great news. And he said, and I'll be paying you all 500 Deutschmarks when you get there. We thought this was absolutely fabulous. You know, we're getting to having a free passage, and we're going to get paid for doing it, you know. On the way, managed to stay in a little village by the Mount Ararat. And I managed to go to the foot of Mount Ararat, which was very special for me. And then we got across the Vatican border with all the Mercedes cars. And a couple of weeks went by, and I met this American. He had a bald head, he had sores all over his body, he was really hanging. I said, what on earth happened to you? He said, I brought a car into the country illegally, and I got time in an Iranian prison. He said, only because of me having really rich parents that I was able to get out. So, oh my God, I said, I'm going to get 3 years in an Iranian prison. So we decided that we were going to go to Pakistan, we were going to go home, but we didn't have any money left. So I had to get a train back to Tehran. We went to the English embassy, and Paul's mother, one of the truck drivers, was a bank manager in North Devon, a couple of £1,000 to get us home. And we actually went through the customs one at a time, because if we were going to get caught, it's no good us all getting caught together. So that was very hair-raising. I got married to William, and we had 2 lovely boys, Daniel and Patrick. And I was always interested in art. I wanted to go to art school, but Dad couldn't afford to send me. I got a job in Kenmare Hospital. I had a fantastic time. I loved it. It was the best job I ever had. And while I was there, I took up art classes again, and it was fantastic. I've just absolutely loved it. This is a picture I painted in '03. It's Van Gogh. It's called Starry Starry Night. It was a number of pictures that I did in '03 at art school in just around the corner here in Kenmare. It's adult education, further adult education. And I actually got a distinction that year for my artwork. And this one is a new one. I painted that one just a few months ago. I've seen it so many times, always wanted to paint it, so I decided to paint it. But things didn't work out between myself and William, and we did split eventually, and the house had to be sold. The council said, don't worry Denise, when the house is sold, we'll make sure you get a place to live. So I thought the house was going to be sold and they would give me a council house. Oh no, they said, no, it's a 7-year waiting list. I thought, oh good Lord, what am I going to do? So I was quite homeless for 3 years. And eventually I was offered this little apartment, and I was just so delighted because it's round the corner from the art school. I've got the library, I've got the shops across the road, lots of lovely cream cakes, and yeah, I've got everything I want. Go swimming, got my little pussycat. So really, I'm happy as a bunny, yeah.